We're coming to you today to advise you that we are leaving Allegheny County. We're giving up our homes so the county will no longer benefit from the taxes we pay annually. We believe we're not the only ones moving out of the county, specifically the Mon Valley, and feel it necessary to tell you why. In 2018, Christmas Eve, there was a fire at the U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works. The air quality has been terrible ever since. We've filed numerous complaints with ACHD. Since the fire, U.S. Steel has not been required to improve their air quality and in fact have been fined repeatedly for exceedances in air quality measures, but have not been required to remediate the causes, nor required to update their air quality equipment, which is decades old.
Poisoning continues to some of the most vulnerable residents of Allegheny County and continues under your leadership. Despite promises to change, shame on your leadership and the lack of the residents. We aren't turning away, but see it as escaping the poison of Allegheny County and the lack of leadership to champion and, in fact, ignore the PA Constitution, the right to clean air.
I'm here again regarding Council's failure to even discuss the Allegheny County Health Department's plan to fully fund its air quality program through increasing certain fees imposed on operators. It should have been a simple, dare I say, boring vote. Because this is not a matter of financial theory, it's simple. Right now, air quality staff members, people like inspectors, engineers, and attorneys, complete tasks like ambient air quality models, risk assessments, and requests for determinations from permitted Title V facilities. The Clean Air Act requires that ACHD have adequate funding and personnel to sufficiently administer those services and more by charging fees sufficient to cover the cost of administering the program.
A tax or regulation avoided is not a consequence avoided. A regulator catching a problem early may inconvenience a business, but that intervention is the cheapest consequence a business could hope for. How many businesses have been driven into bankruptcy paying for the damage that years of negligence has caused? How many businesses have been driven into quality death spirals trying to cut corners to compete? Dun & Bradstreet, as well as the Center for Economic Policy Research, have repeatedly found that strong regulations result in lower rates of bankruptcy and lower rates of dissolution of businesses during bankruptcy. Strong regulations and efficient, well-funded regulators don't just protect people, they protect the businesses that they regulate.
As many of you know, Allegheny County sadly has some of the strongest, highest levels of air pollution from industrial facilities in the entire U.S., and a lot of this comes from just a small handful of polluters. 10 facilities churn out upwards of 2/3 of the industrial toxic emissions here in Allegheny County. The county staff at the air program are responsible for setting air permits with levels, with limits on those emissions, monitoring to make sure that those permits are being complied with.
ACHD shall provide an analysis of the Title V expenditures and revenue to determine whether the fee schedule used results in fees that are in sufficient amounts to meet the requirements of the Federal Clean Air Act, and that the fees are sufficient to solely cover the costs of the Title V program. And most importantly, EPA has identified deliverables which ACHD must resolve. If ACHD does not demonstrate adequate progress on resolving these identified issues in this report, EPA will consider issuing a notice of deficiency in the future.
Pennsylvania is one of 3 states with the blessed Environmental Rights Amendment in its Constitution. Article 1, Section 27 states, "The people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment." It further declares that as trustees, which you all are, of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. Yet, due to budget shortfalls, our county fails to uphold this responsibility.
That is my breathing apparatus that I take twice a day. This is the one that I take when I can't breathe at any moment of the day. These are triggered by the particulates in the air. I'm a well-resourced white woman who has health insurance. You all represent many, many people in the Mon Valley in particular who do not have the resources that I have, who go to the urgent care, to emergency care because the children or the vulnerable who have health issues, who are seniors, don't have health insurance, or they're just losing a day of work or losing a day of school. These are the people you represent, and I am calling this into a moral issue to increase the fees on our air polluting industries.
Today, I also want to speak to you as a dad and as a local community member and a local pastor. Right here, I have debris that I collected yesterday from my window well. I live in Swissvale, about exactly 2 miles from the edge of the Edgar Thompson plant. My child, Benny, has spent her entire 9 years living in Swissvale and breathing the air there. And this past September, Benny developed a cough and multiple respiratory symptoms and has had the same cough and respiratory issues for the last 7 months. We have done testing. It's not allergies. It's not asthma. It's just a constant inflammation of her respiratory system. We have to be able to care for our children. That is the mark of a healthy society and one that cares. So I ask for you all to be courageous enough to vote to increase these permitting fees so that my child and your children don't have to cough their way through another year. Thank you.
I've been able to grow tremendously in my work as a Presbyterian pastor. This region is not only the home for my kids, but it is a home for my heart. And it is my deep desire to see and support our continued flourishing here. As I often pray, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done. And this next part, it's essential. On earth as it is in heaven.
Hi, County Council. I'm a kid who lives here my whole life, and I'm looking forward to being healthier and stronger as I get bigger. But I'm not the one. But I'm just one kid, and I'm speaking up for all the kids who live here. Can you think about a kid you love who lives here too? Can you think about them being healthier and stronger as they get bigger? I want the kid that you love and me and all the other kids to have fresh, clean air. And so please increase the funding of the air quality program. Thank you.
A growing body of research links higher levels of fine particulate air pollution, which we have, with a high number of dementia cases developing over time. Reducing such exposures could help lower the incidence of dementia. 1 in 5 residents of Allegheny County is 65 and older, and almost 12% of this county's older residents and their families are already coping with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. That's nearly 1 in 8 older residents, higher than the national average of 1 in 9.
To me, this should be a no-brainer. Voting no to increase would be putting part of the burden on your community, who should be benefiting, not paying. Continuing to delay this vote is taking money away from your communities. Please bring this ordinance up for a vote, and I have full faith that all of you will put your constituents ahead of polluting them.
Make no mistake, your inaction has already had direct consequences. And that's why I'm here again to demand that you stop hiding behind procedure and straw votes and put the proposal on the next agenda for discussion. We are here to ensure that you understand the gravity of your dereliction. The time for excuses for this permit fee increase is over. The time for action is now.
Thank you to the members of council who have supported this proposal and have worked to table it until we have the full support we need to pass. However, we need all of council to act now to protect our health and to protect our families. Today, I ask those who have not supported the proposed increase to remind themselves of the duty of their duties to act in the best interests of their constituents that elected them to this body.
President Katina, would you consider a motion to amend the agenda in order to have a vote on these fees, because if we delay it yet again, then I feel we're doing a disservice to the members of the audience who gave up their evening along with us to have them come back yet again over and over.
Solicitor.
A question to
Yeah, it was not posted on the agenda. It's not in a, pardon? It was not, it's not one of the exceptions to allowing something to be added to the agenda, which are very limited, and it would be a violation of the Sunshine Act to vote on tonight without having it been posted on the agenda.
Okay, could I ask a clarification question on that?
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor, just for my personal edification, then what is the, would pulling any bill out of committee violate the Sunshine Act then? If it wasn't properly posted on the agenda?
Correct.
Understood. Don't our rules also say, though, that we're able to pull bills out of committee if there's been a certain period of time that's passed?
We do, but if we're going to do that, Councilman, and want to act on it, we have to have it on the agenda for that night.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, there are provisions in our rules of council that allow us to bring to the floor an issue that has been sitting in committee for a specific period of time.
You are correct, but if we're going to do that, we have to have it on the agenda.
It doesn't have to be on the agenda. I'm sorry that I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I believe that we need to take every effort to make sure that these concerns are addressed in a constructive manner.
Okay, I made my position.
Okay.